So Keir Starmer has been quite busy recently doing, should we say, the world tour. He's been to Canada, he's been to France, visiting our, shall we say, fellow neighbours. And he has been very much in the media, which is good for him. He needs to be in the media. He needs to be putting forward he is the next leader of the UK, that he is putting that forward. And that is something good that he is doing. Even the papers don't like him. They're having to report it. So that is good. That is good. It is a good move from Starmer. It is something Corbyn never did. But hey, it just goes to show you how better Starmer is at campaigning, especially in politics, than Jeremy Corbyn is. But one thing, of course, that did spark a lot of worry, especially from the Brexiteers, and of course accusations from the Conservatives that Keir Starmer is going to unpick Brexit. Well, what happened? What did he say? Well, he said, look, we don't really want to diverge from EU rules, so let's just follow EU rules, regulation, and guidance, shall we? And since day one, businesses, trade groups have all been saying the same thing. We do not want to diverge from EU rules or regulations. Why? Because Europe is our main market. We've talked before about trade gravity, that countries always trade most with their closest neighbors. Our closest neighbors are the EU. That ain't changing. Doesn't matter that we go and do these trade deals around the world, etc., etc. Doesn't matter. We're always going to trade far, far more with the EU than any other country that we do trade deals with. That is just facts. We've always said that the Brexiteers just would not understand that. They did not understand international trade, how it works, and even the basic theory of trade gravity. So I welcome this call. I welcome this call for closer EU alignment. And it's not just me that is excited about this. Business leaders have come forward and backed Keir Starmer for this, for not diverging from EU rules. Why? Because it will be easier for them to do business with the EU. And if we keep in lockstep with the EU on their rules and divergence, as we have always said, when it comes to this, there will come a point where, probably not this parliament, but this has opened up what we've always said as well, that in the next parliament, which will probably be led by Keir Starmer, that we will finally be able to have proper conversations about Brexit in there, which will be good for all the UK in this regard. But you will get into a point where you have, as we always said, it might not be Keir Starmer, but it might be someone else who just goes, look, this is Brexit. This is as best as it is ever going to be. Ever going to be. You cannot get better than what we have given you. Are you seriously sure you don't want to be back in the EU? Because it was a lot better. And that is the situation we are getting to. We are rapidly getting to that. We've even seen in hardcore Brexit voting areas when it's put to them, do you really want to diverge from EU rules and regulations? When it's gets explained to them the advantages for business and for the UK on that, they go, oh, well, actually, no, we don't want to. Which then raises the question of, if we are following with rules and regulations, why aren't we in the single market and customs union? And then once we're in the single market and customs union, why aren't we full EU members? So this was always going to be the path back that we would find ourselves on. And Starmer is being very careful, as we always said he would be in this. So we are being proved right on that. That calm, cautious nature is paying off. Now, of course, I would like, and I'm sure a lot of people who are pro-EU would like a lot faster accelerant into this. And you're going to see a lot of calls probably at the Labour conference for that. I know Graham and the Labour Social, they're having their own fringe event down there about that very thing. So that you probably see that around the fringes. I'm not how much sure you'll see probably the Natural Labour conference itself, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But most of all, like I say, I do agree with these calls. Like I say, you've got senior business leaders here in this letter. So, in a letter to The Guardian, dozens of business leaders and trade bodies have joined with political figures hostile to Brexit in endorsing what they had described as a policy of alignment with EU standards and regulations, unless it is explicitly not in the UK's interest to do so. So, you see, you've kept that door open. We're not Brexiting, we're still Brexiting because, after all, if it's not in our interest to do so, why wouldn't we? Here's the thing. Historically, we have agreed with the vast majority of EU rules and regulations and standards. I highly doubt we are suddenly not going to go, oh, well, that's not in our interest to do so. But people who have signed this letter include Peter Norris, the chairman of Virgin, Paul Delscher, from the International Chamber of Commerce, who said that such a policy would enable businesses and investors to have confidence in the UK's regulatory foundations, while still allowing the UK to maintain its own regulatory autonomy. Again, completely agree. It's the good thing to go with. And people saying, "Oh, but oh, it's not in the UK's best interest to do so, or it'll have its own regulatory autonomy." We've agreed with the vast body of EU rules, laws, and regulations when it comes to it. I highly doubt we're going to diverge, because even the Conservatives and the crazy head-banging Brexiteers, when they have tried to diverge, they have failed spectacularly to do so. They have had since what, 2019 to do so, and yet we're in what, 2023, and that they have done almost next to no serious diverging. They have done some things, but the second you do this, all those regulations come back. And it's on environmental policy through to workers' rights as well. So this will be a good step in the right direction. But it also says this in letter as well. By taking this approach, any future UK government will be able to reassure businesses and investors, both domestically and internationally, that the UK is committed to maintaining high standards and protections with strong relationships with its trading partners, while also protecting the interests of UK business. The position of, quote, beneficial alignment differs from the dynamic alignment. The idea that the UK would follow evolving EU rules in an area indefinitely, which Labour has at pains to stress it does not support. Because if you go for that dynamic alignment, then that's where you will get accusations of, oh, you are betraying Brexit, you're doing this. So, and bear in mind, it's just a slight word change. That's all they're doing. Oh, yes, it's beneficial alignment rather than dynamic alignment. We're going to end up following all these EU rules anyway. It's an amazing cover for this. But you also get others. Chief Executive of the British Poultry Association, Richard Griffiths, Steve Bailey from the Chief Executive of Gambia, the UK Trade Association for International Control, Automation and Laboratory Technology. Norris said, contrary to what was promised, leaving the single market has already increased cost for businesses and consumers, and further divergence would only hike prices during a cost of living crisis. It's what we've been saying all along. And businesses are going to start switching. Something that even the Conservatives are also sooner or later going to have to recognize. And something we had talked about in the past, that if the Tories, in their probably decade of exile that they've got ahead of them, there might be a serious reconsideration of rejoining the single market. That is not too far-fetched to think and believe from a party that is going to be possibly in the political wilderness at least for the next decade or more. So we are headed in the right direction. We are headed in the right direction. I think some people will say it's not fast enough, but hey, Keir Starmer is being cautious. I think he's doing the right thing. And I think this does show that we are on the right track to eventually reclaiming our star. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.